Hi, welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm your host for today, Karen Stevens, and today we'll be discussing the creative mix of the arts with Tigertail Productions. But first, let me introduce our regular panel. Iris Acker, actress and producer of Spotlight on the Arts, theater critic and journalist, Mr. Bill Hirschman, and actor, playwright, Michael McKeever. Our special guest for today is Miss Mary Luft from Tigertail Productions. Hello, Mary.
Hi, it's great to be here.
It's so great to see you. I haven't seen you in a really long time.
I know. That's because you've been on stage all the time.
Oh, well, I do what I can. So, you are the executive producer, the founder of Tigertail Productions, which is based here in South Florida.
Correct.
Can you give us a little bit of history about yourself and about Tigertail, how it was started, what your focus was when you started, what made you want to create Tigertail Productions?
Well, I actually came here in 1970, and as we were driving south, it looked like basements that had emerged. And I was kind of, well, I don't know if we want to live down in this area. But it was, it turned out to be a fabulous place because it had so much room to do things. And you could start anything. So I got involved with a dance company called Fusion, which is no longer around, in the late 70s. And I thought they were crazy because, I hadn't danced in 10 years. And I said, this company is inviting me to be in the company. I was like, I don't know about that. But everyone was paid from day one. And there was an incredible director, Wally Lord, who started the company. We brought in choreographers from New York. We hired dancers from New York. We had set designers. We had a costumer on staff. I mean, this is like beginning level company, but it started like boom. And it was an amazing period of time. I had an opportunity. I found out that I was not a good core dancer. No matter how hard I tried, I could not fit into one of Fred Bratcher's pieces. But I really liked to choreograph. And at the same time, I was getting involved with new music. And there was a festival that traveled the United States called New Music America. It started in New York in 1979. And I got involved in that and ended up co-producing New Music America in Hartford. It started with, you could get on the train at Grand Central Station and take the train to Hartford, and there were events, sound events, performances on the train as you went. Oh. It was raining like crazy. Sun Ra was the opening act. And we were all squished into this tiny little club with, body to body with all of Sun Ra's band. Oh. So, it was a great beginning, beginning with Fusion Dance Company. And then it was Mary Luft and Company in the beginning. And the year that I was gone doing New Music America, the board who was running the organization said, we can't do this, we can't have, I said, can we change it to Tigertail? And I said, sure. So they changed the name while I was gone. And it became Tigertail's 34 years old.
Wow.
From the very beginning, I was interested in new music, in the visual arts, in poetry, performance. And so it started and just sort of kept trotting along, moving along, evolving and changing a little bit as it went.
Why Tigertail? Why did they want to change the name to
Well, that
Tigertail?
was the street I lived on.
Oh!
So it was actually a Seminole Indian chief.
When Karen introduced Tigertail Productions, a creative mix.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
It is a creative mix.
So many dance, music, word speak. You coined that. Is that the right phrase?
Yes.
You coined that. And what is word speak?
Word speak is, and I'm not going to use this lightly, it's truly, it's a transformative project for inner city teens. And they learn how to write, they learn how to research writing, they learn to work as a team, and they find their creative spirit, and they find what's inside of each of them. The writing is absolutely astounding. And it starts out with this process of bringing artists in from outside that work with the teens in schools, a series of workshops, slams. And a slam is it's a competitive event where you compete. And so these kids, wow, some of the things It's like, wow.
Is this something you do every season that you have?
Every year.
Every
It's
year.
every year. And then we reduce it down from 1,000, comes down to 6 teens and several mentors, a teen mentor, a coach, Teo Castellanos, who's the best.
Oh, he's great,
He's
yes.
not only a great actor, director.
And great writer.
He's a fabulous teacher and educator. And we send a team to a national competition. And for the last 4 years, we've gotten to the finals, and we usually lose to the team that wins. But, you know, our day is coming, I'll tell you.
There you go.
Can you give an example of a specific piece that came out of
Okay.
this that you know, they can say anything else they want, but we did this? What give the
mean the
people out
writing?
there, from WordSpeak, give people a
Well,
sense of
they
what
write-
these things
they,
look like or sound like?
They're writing about a lot of social political issues. They're writing about Alzheimer's. They're writing about kids with Down syndrome.
Wow.
They're writing about child brides. They're writing about rape in the military. So, and it's
Wow.
beautifully, powerfully done. It's just, you know, again, I didn't use the word lightly. It's a transformative project, not only for the teens, but those that see the team perform.
You bring in a well-known poet every year to work with them.
We
at
bring
the
in
beginning of the
2 or
series.
more.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a GLBT component of WordSpeak. So we have, and they mainstream into the WordSpeak project.
That's great.
Performances are where?
Performances are, it's more of a training project, but at the Gay and Lesbian National Task Force, you can actually go online and you can look up Malin Enamorado, the poem that she did for that dinner. We did perform for Children's Trust for their luncheon. They perform small cafes in different locations. And then, you know, you can go to YouTube. Our whole team has pieces on YouTube.
Well, that's nice too.
Where does Tiger Tail usually present their artists when they come? Is it still the Colony Theater on Miami Beach, or is it
Because
different
we
locations?
do not have a facility, we choose a location that matches the artist. And so, you know, I'm not going to put a certain artist in a 2,000-seat hall. It's like, no, that's not going to work. But I'll choose locations. We've been using the stage of the Miami-Dade County Auditorium.
Got it.
So that beautiful, huge stage that closed the fire curtain, and then the audience sits on stage.
Oh, wow.
So the stage itself becomes the venue.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, actually, I've seen a couple of performances there. It's really a great venue.
Yeah, it's very, and
It
that's
works.
fairly new.
Yeah.
Of course, the Colony, and then smaller things like Incubate, which is a small studio performance series, as well as larger venues depending on the artist.
Is it hard to get word out to people that, okay, this performance is here, this performance is there, when you don't have a central
I
location?
think that's always a challenge.
How do you
Yeah.
deal with that?
Well, we've moved totally to the electronic media. So, you know, that we, you know, keep people notified of where it is. And also they know that we move around. And so
Are you
they're
talking about
used
email
to that.
blast or
Yeah, email
Facebook,
blast,
social media?
Social media. And we're also looking at there's a project I want on web stream. We just web stream for our launch of our book. So I'm interested
Talk a
in
little
web
about that.
streaming.
Yes.
What's that? What are you
Yeah, I'm
talking
not
about?
familiar with WebStream. What exactly is that?
Well, web stream it's done live, and then you go and you can watch it live. Like we had friends in France that were watching.
That's great.
As the reading was happening at Books and Books in Coral Gables. So.
But how do you get, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, you have a group of people that have been following you for years and that are subscribers or patrons or fans. How do you grow your audience past, if most of your work is online as far as getting the word
Right.
out?
We also
how
do
you
mailings.
expand
Yeah.
past that?
We also do mailings, we advertise, we do, you know, the standard route as well. 'Cause I really believe in mail. As it's been decreasing, you know, that beautifully designed piece that comes in the mail, it looks very different now because you make it one piece a week.
It's okay. You
Yes.
know, headlines, you get a lot of press. How is it known? The press loves Mary. Expect the unexpected. That's a headline. As I showed you before, and I have saved, it's a mountain of newspaper clippings about Mary Luft and Tiger Tail Productions because you do your photo, the photo of who's coming in and what's happening. I mean, they love you. The press loves you. Why? I just said it. Because with Tiger Tail, expect the unexpected. That's it.
Yes, you presented a lot of unique artists over the years. Can you tell our viewing audience about some of those artists? Because you import a lot of,
Yes, we do.
Of artists from around the world. Can you tell us a little about
We've
them?
been, for 10 years, I did a festival with Brazil. It was a hardship.
Someone had to do it, I guess, right?
Tough.
Right, and I travel once or twice a year, to see work. We did a piece. One of my very favorites is we did a piece in a swimming pool because I saw it originally. It was done. It was called Navigadores or Navigators, and it started with a boat that burns, and the boat comes on, and then they have a raft in the middle of the pool. And they had people, people auditioned to be a fish. There was a trapeze act in the background, and it was a beautiful little story. It had a storm in it.
It sounds wonderful. Where did you perform this?
We performed it in the Jose Marti swimming pool. When you're driving on I-95, and if you take the Southwest 7th Street exit, and you look down, you see the park. And there's a pool there, and we did it in that pool.
I think I was there.
How could you forget?
When I just read the PR on it, the press on it, I said, this I've got to see.
It was great fun.
Yes, wonderful. She just came back from Paris. We just grabbed her literally a couple of days ago.
Wonderful.
So tell us about Paris. Who was there? What was there
Oh,
that grabbed you?
Tower. There's a big tower.
We did go to the tower. No, it was the trip was to research choreography centers in France, and so we braved getting in and out of cities in a rental car and traveled to Rennes and met with the artistic director and the producing manager in each of the cities, Rennes, in Paris, in Montpellier, in Lyon, and Belfort. Because this is what I did when I did the festival with Brazil, is I got to know the country. I got to know who's doing work, because you get more information out of a meeting, just meeting face to face. You establish a rapport, you establish a bond of trust, and then things can start flowing from then on. So, and then we saw concerts in every city.
Wow.
But they were selected, I selected them online. Isn't that interesting? And then I worked, a wonderful woman from the French Embassy, Nicole Berman.
Well,
She made all the contacts for me, put all the phone numbers, the numbers, whatever, everything she put together, and then made additional suggestions. And then we just went from one location to another.
Nice. Do you do this often? Do you travel a lot looking for...
I like to see things live. You do the Carbonells. Can you imagine just, looking at a video and making a decision? No. You can't.
Right.
that's happening
You can't.
today. That's what does
You
happen.
have to see things live. You have to get a sense of what it is live. It's very different.
Sure. It's a whole different energy. It's a whole different feel.
I will
Absolutely.
believe that forever.
Well, I think
Because it's the truth.
I was just going to say, it's a truth.
As long as you get the frequent flyer miles. But one thing I'm curious about is, does your audience follow you from production to production, regardless of whether
Yeah.
it's dance or it's poetry? Or do
good
you have
question.
segmented audiences that go, or both, or none of the above? How does your
Good
audience
question.
work?
It's both. There's some people, because we track everyone. I know, I track like who comes to music, who comes to dance, who crosses over. And there's some people, okay, the last time they came to was a year ago when they came to a music event. Or they came to, sometimes they're crossover people, but not, they generally have specific interests. So if we're addressing them and if we're keeping them informed, then they'll drive from Tampa, they'll come up from Key West,
Wow.
they'll come up, it's amazing. Wow, it's done.
I'm going to put you on the spot. When I first told you that Karen was on the panel today. You said, oh, I love Karen.
Yeah.
Now, Karen started off by saying, I haven't seen you in a long time. What was your association?
Well, Mary and I both belong to an organization called Alternate Roots, which is an organization, arts organization that's based in Southeast United States that addresses social change through community art. And that's how we met, and that's how we've continued our association. And I've been down to see Mary's productions over the years. And we were talking about presenting me at one time, but I dropped the ball.
There's always tomorrow.
But there's always tomorrow. I just want you to know that I still remember that. But I wanted to ask, the art that you present is so unique. Would you say that it's different than the art that we usually see in this area? Is it more of a unique kind of experience, or?
I think I think there's a thread that goes through all art. No matter if it's the most popular and the most commercial, to something that's really, really obscure and may take more of an educational entrance into it. But I think there's a thread that passes. I'm very interested in what's coming out of our time, what people are thinking about, and what the artist is thinking about. So the work that we present is generally forward-thinking.
Avant-garde, would you say?
Yeah, avant-garde, I still connect, like, going back to the turn of the century.
When someone says avant-garde.
Well, they say,
Right.
but it's not that the word doesn't work. It still works. But I think we're entering, and there's always funny eras, sort of labelless or blurry boundaries. Work that has a blurry boundary. Well, is it this, or is it that, or is it a mix, or what's going on here? And I think many times we can't give a label until later. Until it's passed and moved on, then it gets a label.
How do you, speaking as someone who sees a lot of traditional theater as well as some cutting edge theater, it's still primarily theater that I go to, some form
Right.
of that. One of the things I wonder is how you attract or educate people to appreciate the kind of work that you're doing when they come from a relatively, not straight-laced, but a very relatively traditional mindset. When they go to see a piece of performance, they don't often think of the kinds of blurry boundaries that you're talking about. Everyone says, well, you should open up your mind. How do you teach people to open up their mind?
I think there are things, everybody has different things they enjoy the most. And that's totally appropriate and needed. But there's work that, it's like, I really didn't know if I liked that or didn't like it. But then they start talking, and they talk, and they talk, and then they talk to their friends, and then they talk to someone else. So something has happened in that interaction with the performer and the individual experiencing the work. So it may take a while, but I always find it really intriguing when people leave and then they go and say, let's go out and get a coffee. And they talk for 2 hours.
I love that.
And they want to discuss. They want to, well, why did this happen? Or what's going on? Or, I don't really like that part. Or, this was really interesting. And so it's like shaken a little bit or stirred up. And I think art must do that. It must do that.
But sometimes people are closed off to it. I saw a show that shall remain nameless. But if you read my column, you can guess exactly which one it was. That I didn't relate to at all. I thought it was very self-conscious, very precious,
Right.
a bunch of other things. And I got criticism because you're not keeping yourself open to different kinds of performance art. Now, I can argue that there are other things in that same genre I did like, and I just don't think they did it very well. But it's bothered me a great deal ever since I wrote that review about whether people like me, who come from a very traditional background, are staying open to it. And I'm always looking for advice on how to make yourself more open to experiences that you're not used to.
Just see more of, I don't think everyone, it's like we don't have to like everything. We don't have to have, we don't have to always be fair, be just. You know, there are times when it goes one way or another. But I think work that is strong, no matter, even work that may be more difficult to understand, it doesn't die. It keeps going forward. It keeps going forward.
I think that's incredibly insightful and smart. And it's just because you don't appreciate a certain type of theater, let's say theater, it doesn't mean that it's not bad, you know, or it's not good. I mean, that genre can still be done badly or done very, very well. Yeah. So I think that's a very smart, insightful way of looking at it.
So how many years now? I don't know how you sustained financially. I mean, I know the box office does not.
I'm a wicked grant writer.
Oh,
that was my next question.
Oh, wow, good for you. That's a talent.
No,
wicked
I'm very fortunate,
grant writer.
Do you rely? I take it do you rely a lot on grants and?
I also have an excellent board, a really wonderful board, and that they make a difference. You know, tremendous difference.
Okay.
I love what I do.
And there it is right there. That definitely counts.
Because we know how difficult it's been lately.
Yes, yes, yeah. So a lot of, they help you with fundraising, and I assume they're successful at that.
Yeah. And then, you know, we're part of the DeVos Institute, the Kennedy Center project. I was just in Washington first week in November. And it's like additional training. It's like you're always fine-tuning, you know, fine-tuning and looking, trying to, you know, well, let's think about this or work like this, staying in abreast of what trends of communication are out there, and staying right with that so we don't lose track. You know, who is our audience? Are we addressing them? Are we not addressing them? Who are we reaching? Why aren't we reaching them?
Along the same lines of that, you know, in the past 30 some odd years, how has the art world in South Florida evolved? I mean, you've seen a lot come and go. Right. How have you seen the changes?
You know what I love now? There are a lot of people I don't know who they are.
I'm sorry.
There are a lot of people I don't know who they are. Oh. I love that. I used to know everybody that was doing almost everything. You know, in the visual arts, in the performing world, I don't anymore.
Is that because there's simply so many more people?
There's so many more. There's so many more. There are young people coming up. There are people that are moving here for all disciplines.
Yeah,
totally
they
all
moved
disciplines.
Here, they moved away. There's a lot of influx, outflux of artists. You are part of the National Performance Network.
Yes.
Still, could you tell us just quickly a bit about that and how Tiger Tail works within that entity?
Yeah, there's several major networks. One you mentioned, which is Alternate Roots. And another one is the National Performance Network, which is a series of partners, about 65 partners. Their office is in New Orleans. And there's 65 partners from across the United States, from really small to like the Walker in Minneapolis, the Wexner, Red Cat at the Disney Center. And these partners get together once a year, and there are sessions where they see work, they discuss work, they share video, they talk with work. There are artists who are there, so you have a chance to maybe meet with someone you're interested in, talk with them before you bring them, because I like doing that as well. And then it's a body that supports new work, performing work across the United States. There's also another organization that I'm a hub site member of called the National Dance Project. And that's different because that's a granting, but it's also a policy organization. And that came to being when the NEA, the grants were cut to individual artists. So that was founded back then. And we meet 3 times a year, and you have a 3-year term. There are people from from the Joyce Theater, from PICA, from On the Board, so 12 representatives from all over the country. We review grants, and so that's one way of seeing things I wouldn't normally see or become aware of for one session. And then another session, we select the final group that get grants between $35,000 and $40,000. and then infrastructure grants to help get from the rehearsal to the stage, because that's a transition period, and you can't necessarily just leap from rehearsal to stage. You may need some additional work, time to develop components, or you can do a premiere and come back and work again. And then there's a third part, which is a tour only, and they discuss policy. What should we be looking at? Where is dance moving in this country? What's going on? And international artists can also apply to the tour only. So though actually, I think I believe you can be anywhere in the United States if you stay connected to a larger world. Mm-hmm. That's imperative. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to know what's going on in different cities. You go to New York all the time to see work.
Sure.
You stay in touch. You stay in touch with your field. And that's, if you don't do that, it's, you're just like, oh, what's going on here? And you feel left behind.
Yeah. So in one sentence, or maybe one and a half, can you tell us, you've been around 34 years, what's in the future for Tiger Tail Productions?
More.
I like that.
Do we have time, Karen?
I like that.
I think that says a whole lot.
I think that
time is
says
running
a
out.
whole lot. I think that's for all of us. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here,
you.
Mary.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yes, and it's good to see you again. And thank you for joining us today. Come join us next week for our next segment. And if you'd like to know what's going on in the South Florida area, go to floridatheateronstage.com. Please patronize the arts. We need you. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.